it's 5:15, and
Okay.
so I will call the meeting to order. And like we did last month, I'll ask Commissioner Huber-Levy to do roll call. And then if anyone is lined up to speak, you can introduce yourself then, and anyone else, you're welcome to introduce yourself in chat. All right, Commissioner Huber-Levy, take it away.
Hi, good evening. So the roll call for, we'll begin with Monroe LeBuise. Commissioner LeBuise.
Present.
Commissioner Enriquez.
Present.
Commissioner Duddy.
Present.
Commissioner Flores.
Present.
Commissioner Kare Aurora.
Present.
Commissioner Nori. Maybe joining us a little later. Commissioner Rasmussen.
Here.
Commissioner Swope.
Here.
Commissioner Willis. And Commissioner Wilson.
Here. And Austin will join us, but a little late.
Okay, great.
Looks like
We have a
Southwick
quorum.
is signing on right now. Southwick, I see he just.
Yeah, I see Commissioner Nori as well. So that's great. So we have a quorum. Great. All right. So let's take care of our first administrative item, which is, one thing I wanted to note just in the agenda packet that I had inadvertently left Commissioner Wilson, or she was inadvertently left off of the masthead on the agenda packet, not intentional. So there you are, Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Swope, your hand's up already. What's up?
I move that we approve the resolution to meet remotely.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
Second, Enriquez.
Great. And any discussion on this? Is anyone interested in meeting in person next month, perhaps?
I am.
I see Commissioner Wilson's hands up. Or is anyone not interested yet in meeting in person? Commissioner Rasmussen and Commissioner Huber-Levy. Okay, well, we can also have that discussion a bit by email as the month goes on. But any other comments on meeting remotely this month? All right. If I don't hear any objections to adopting this resolution and continuing to meet remotely, hearing none, the motion is adopted. Thank you, Commissioner Swope. All right, great. So next item on the agenda is to adopt the minutes from November as well as January. You'll recall that last month we decided to recirculate the minutes. So both November and January minutes are in the agenda packet. And on the November minutes, I did receive by email a few minor changes from Commissioner Swope, mostly wording and so on. So I will just let everyone know that. Commissioner Rasmussen, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I just had one correction, and that was to the November minutes, and it is to the title of Jennifer Martinez. It's correct in the January minutes, but it's incorrect in the November minutes. In the November minutes, it just says Juvenile and Family. So what's missing is Specialist Redwood City Police Department.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. We'll get that corrected. Commissioner Swope, I see your hand up also.
Now on page 3G, the demographics by race that Dr. Fong gave us add up to 49%. And I was just wondering what happened to the other 51%? Who were they? Do we know?
Sorry, which one are we referring to?
Page 3.
November or January?
November.
Okay.
Item 3G. HSA Children and Family Services. Of the the children in their care, they're 12% Black, 14% Latino, 23% white. And to my mind, that adds up to 49%. And I'm just wondering, who are the other 51%? Is John here? No. But I'd kind of like to find out at some point.
Okay, I think I recall, and we can go back and look at the recording, that he said that those were the most common or the highest percentages. But why don't we go back and look at that, and if there's anything significant material there, we'll add it to the minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, great. Any other comments on the minutes? Great. All right. Then I would entertain a motion to adopt both the November and January minutes with the corrections noted.
I move we adopt the November and the January minutes with the corrections noted.
I second that motion.
Great. All right, let's move to a vote then. And commissioners, I'll ask you to come off of mute, and with a voice vote, all in favor of adopting these minutes with the corrections as noted?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Right. Any abstentions?
You need opposed too.
Right, I'm gonna get there. Anyone opposed? All right, hearing none, then the motion passes and the minutes with those corrections are adopted. Thank you. All right, then I'll just say a few words to welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to the February meeting of the Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Commission. Good to see a solid crowd as is usual recently. We're very happy to have so many members of the public participate, and also so many members of county agencies that work with kids in the juvenile justice system present. So thank you for being here. Last month, I talked about how I hoped that the commission would lead with humility, and that means, amongst other things, that we're willing to admit what we don't know. The Welfare and Institutions Code says that the Juvenile Justice Commission's purpose is to, quote, inquire into the administration of juvenile law in the county. So we mostly task our committees, ad hoc committees in particular, which we call projects, with performing that inquiry. And so this month, our agenda is going to have longer time for updates from the various committees of the commission. So we will look forward to hearing from those committees, which we haven't for a while. And I'm also going to make an effort going forward to make sure that we always have enough time to hear from them, since they are acting on behalf of the commission, and we definitely want to give them time to report back and receive guidance from us as needed. So, so that's mostly what our agenda is tonight. We have also, in past years, had outside speakers, external speakers who come and give presentations. We are going to return to that. We haven't done that for the first two meetings, but the speaker, hopefully, that we will have in March will be Janae Luttrell from the County Office of Education. At our January meeting, she told us about upcoming changes at the Gateway School, and we asked her to come back and tell us more about that. She asked to do that in March, when she'll have more new information than is available this month. So so that's our likely outside speaker next month. I see Janae here. Hello, Janae. I hope you're. I hope you will be able to do that. We'll check back with you as the month goes by.
Yes, please do. We are actively working with our districts, and there are some plans that need to go to the board. So I'll just want to be mindful and respectful of the process and what can be shared and what's going to be the best, whether it's March or April, and what would be the most relevant for this body.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right, so with that preview of the agenda, let's actually adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting. If there are no objections to the agenda as written, or I should say, sorry, one small correction. I did inadvertently leave Commissioner Swope's name off of the members of the committee in item number 5. My fault. That was not actually a technical error like Commissioner Wilson being left off of the masthead. So my apologies, Commissioner Swope. So with that one small addition, if there are no objections to adopting the agenda as written, and I'm not hearing any from commissioners, so we will adopt the agenda. Great. All right, so let's move on to the items in the agenda. The first thing is I just have a few updates and reminders for commissioners, just a few quick announcements. One is that there will be a training provided by the county for members of boards and commissions on March 3rd. Everyone should have received an email about that. And I would just urge commissioners to make time to attend that training, where I think the county is going to tell us a lot more about roles and responsibilities as commissioners. So I think that's an important training for us to get to. Another announcement is that the 2021 annual report of the Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention Commission, as we reviewed in January, it's been completed with the corrections noted there, sent on to the Board of Supervisors, and as we're supposed to do according to our operating policies, and it's also posted on the website. One other thing which Commissioner Swope told me about last week, which I thought was really great news, which is that the parent manual, which is also available on our website, and that was completed last year, 300 more copies in English and 300 more copies in Spanish have been ordered by the librarian in Redwood City for the Peninsula Library System. So that's great news. An example of the good work of the commission getting out to the community, and a really useful document which is for parents of children who enter the juvenile justice system, and also just a very useful reference document for anyone trying to understand the system. So that was great news. And then lastly, I have some less good news, but I did receive a letter from Commissioner Deborah Telleria resigning from the commission. I received that after I sent out the agenda packet, so it's not noted in the agenda. But Commissioner Telleria has already stepped down from the commission, and I just wanted to read one part of her resignation letter for you. The commission has achieved many of the goals I had hoped we would accomplish over the past few years. Among them was to recruit more youth commissioners, commissioners with lived experience, and commissioners with the time and passion to take the commission to the next level. With a solid foundation, strategic new leadership, and passionate commissioners, I am confident that the commission will make great strides towards achieving the commission's aspirations over the years to come. So we are sad to see Commissioner Telleria go, and I did not have time to prepare a resolution like I did for Tony Barrick, but hopefully we can get to that in the future. And this is a caution to me that all of the previous chairs of the commission seem to promptly resign as soon as they're done being chair. So I'll do my best to prevent burnout. All right. Maybe it's because they've been doing such great work recently that they feel they're ready. It's ready to, the commission is ready to move on. Great. So those are just a few updates and announcements from me, which takes us to the second item on the agenda, which is oral communications, public comment on items that are not on the agenda. I did not receive any written public comment on items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public that would like to make public comment on items that are not on the agenda? And you will have an opportunity to make public comment on items on the agenda when we get to them. Would anyone like to say anything? No, okay. Well, thank you for coming and listening. And if you do have comment on items on the agenda, you'll have that opportunity later. Which takes us to item 3, our customary updates from our partners in the county to hear about what are the latest trends and news from their areas. We allocated until 6 o'clock. So I think that gives everyone maybe 3-4 minutes to give updates. And I did not send out anything ahead of time to, suggest a common theme like I did in January. But I think it would be great, since the Omicron really has receded in the county, to find out if anything's changed because of that in your area. But with that, I will turn it over to Judge Etizadi.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. Sorry, I think I have a frog in my throat tonight. Well, as it relates to the Omicron virus, as many of you know, in San Mateo County, the mask mandate has been lifted with exceptions for schools and transportation. But as it relates to the courts, we are still requiring that people who come into the courtrooms wear their masks, and people who go into the clerk's office also wear their masks. A lot of our buildings, as you may know, are shared with other justice partners. Juvenile, for example, the Youth Services Center in San Mateo is shared with Probation. So if you're in the hallways outside the courthouse, or the courtroom, excuse me, you don't have to wear your mask, but when you come into the courtroom, you have to wear your mask. And of course, we wear masks in the back hallways of the courthouse as well. So the reason for that, of course, is in courtrooms. If you've ever been in a courtroom, you have a number of people in a small space. And so we want everybody to stay safe. So we are requiring masks in the courtrooms and in the clerk's office. Because of the Omicron surge, and I know things change so quickly with this virus, but I think back in December, I lose track. We used to have contested hearings and everyone had to be in the courtroom for those contested hearings. Some of you may not know what that word means. Contested hearings means a hearing where witnesses are called to testify, and the judge, that would be me, has to decide whether they're telling the truth or not. So I have to see their faces. So in the courtrooms, we have these transparent masks that we ask our witnesses to wear. But because of the Omicron surge, and we decided to pivot back to Zoom for contested hearings. I think people were feeling more comfortable that way. So right now, we still have a hybrid. So if people want to come to court, they may come to court. But if they're testifying via Zoom, I just need the attorneys to know that to check in with their witnesses to make sure that they have a decent Wi-Fi connection so that they're not freezing every 2 seconds and that I'm losing every 3 or 4 words. As you know, in a courtroom, we have a court reporter and they're taking down everything that's said. So my only requirement is that you have a strong Wi-Fi and that I can also see your face. So those are some basics. And for those of you who don't, because I have to assess credibility, I have to see who's testifying, I have to look at their facial features, how they're saying what they're saying. And if I can't see that or hear that, it sort of defeats the purpose of having a hearing. So the attorneys all know that. But so that's the switch. So on our 300 side, some of you know, we have lots of people, attorneys for the children, attorneys, obviously county council, we can have upwards of 7 or 10 people. So all of those have pivoted to Zoom. Unless people want to come to court, they're more than welcome to come to court. But I wanted to share that with everybody. Now, of course, minors have a constitutional right to appear in court. So if they want to appear in court, I will allow them to appear in court. So it's just very flexible with these rules because they have a right to confront their witnesses in the courtroom. And I don't believe we are under any emergency orders from the Chief Justice. So sometimes kids are okay appearing via Zoom from the hall. Others, if they want to be in the courtroom, they're more than welcome to be in the courtroom. So every day this changes, and I'm hoping and praying that we are climbing out of this pandemic. Not that the virus is going to go away, but that we're just going to climb out of it at some point. So any questions about that as it relates to courtroom procedure in the middle of a pandemic here? Okay, I think flexibility is the key. It's all I'm trying to let you know. And we want people to feel comfortable and we want them to feel safe. That's the most important thing. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it's great that we have the technology to have that flexibility.
Finally, we do, Monroe. You know, when all of this happened 2 years ago, we did not have the technology. And I always say, I thank the Human Services Agency, John Fong is on, I think, they helped us out those first few months when we didn't have the technology and we were competing with courts all over the country for that technology. There was a backlog and we finally got underway. But in those first few months, HSA was contracting with the county of San Mateo to have those televisions in the courtroom for Zoom. And it worked out beautifully. And I will always be eternally grateful for their efforts collaboratively to work with us because we were hobbled. We just didn't have the technology. And we couldn't get it because of the backlog. So a shout out again to John Fong and his group. And also the DA's office, they contracted with the county as well, but we had a lot more 300 hearings than we did 602 hearings. So always grateful for the collaboration that we experienced from our justice partners. Thank you.
And I know John Fong is here and we'll hear from him in a minute. I see Ron Reyes as well, who can give us an update from the private defender's office.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Our update is kind of similar to what the judge had indicated to everybody. I did notice that some of the attorneys starting to trickle in a little bit more into the court house and appearing in person on their matters. So that's a good thing. Also on the Miranda advisement consultation, which is SP 203, attorneys still have discretion to field calls by phone, but we always stress if there's a need to be in person and it's safe to do so to handle those calls in person. So that's still ongoing. And then on the legislative side, I was hoping to meet with Paul and Karen, but I've been really impacted the past couple of weeks. Was not able to meet with them before today's meeting. Hopefully we can meet sometime mid-March. The one news I have on there, the bill I was working really hard on last legislative year and this legislative year, AB 1127, to do away with juvenile strike. We could not get two-third majority, so that's a dead bill right now. There are few bills that'll be in the works for this legislative year. Hopefully, when the dust settles here next couple of weeks, I'll have more updates, and I definitely will have more update for the commission as we go forward. That's kind of my update, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ron, I have a question related to the work you're doing with legislation and tracking legislation. Are you also, I'm sure you're sort of tracking closely what's in the proposed governor's budget. And maybe if there's enough that's interesting in there that's worth updating the commission on, that's something that we could talk about in a future meeting. What do you think about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't track everything. I only pick, it's items like, I know there's one specific amendment that's happening that is interest to me, so I'm following that very closely. I don't know if there are other items that you want to highlight and want to take a look at and discuss. I'd be more than happy to do that, definitely.
Maybe something we can do. I can talk to the legislative coordination team about, and we can come back to that in a future month.
Definitely. And I just, I don't want to speak for them, but I think our discussion will be meeting on a regular basis just to kind of keep in touch on these issues. So definitely that will be something I look forward to have that discussion with them.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely. Monroe or any of the other commissioners, if there's something in particular that you would like to have more information on, just let Paul or I know, and we'll be sure to follow up with Ron when we meet.
Sounds good.
Monroe, can I just add something? I wanted to also shout out to probation early on in the pandemic. This is Judge Edizade speaking. They were also extremely collaborative, helping us with the 602s by bringing their old equipment, what they had, somewhere hidden somewhere, and we used it. And I meant to also thank them for their assistance to the courts. Thank you.
Sure, and I think that's a good transition because the next on the agenda was Sharon Cho from the District Attorney's Office, but I got a note from her that she's unable to attend this month. So with that, I think we can move on to probation's update, and Melanie Stauffer is up first.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Your Honor, for that. I think it was definitely a big lift and we all worked together to make it happen. So I appreciate it. So for our update, and Susan, I just wanted to say that I was really only reporting out on the higher numbers for race, but if you all prefer, I can go through the whole list. That's not a problem, if that would be helpful. Okay, sure. So we have 128 youth that are in our intake assessment center investigations phase. And so again, those are the youth that are not on probation, but have either been referred to the probation department via a police referral out of custody, or a youth who's been detained. And so from there, we assess whether or not we need to keep them in custody because they're more serious offenses, and go through the formal court process, or if they are youth that can be released, and then we assess them for a diversion contract. So when I report out on our diversion contract numbers, those are youth that have either been referred out of custody and are and apply, or youth that have been detained and we've determined that they don't need to remain detained, but we can give them services informally. So that's 128 youth. And then we have 115 youth that are currently on probation. And that includes youth that are on informal probation for 6 months and formal probation, which is roughly a year or longer, just depending upon the youth and how they are responding to probation services. We have 0 youth in placement, which we're always happy to report out on. We continue to work really diligently with our youth and families to prevent youth from going into out-of-home care. So we're happy to report out on that number. We have 6 youth who are extended foster care youth. So at some point they were either in placement or received a placement order prior to their 18th birthday, which then made them eligible for extended foster care services. So they're not on probation, but they receive funding from the state, money to help pay bills and rent and things like that. And then we also provide case management services. So referrals to counseling, we see them once a month, and we try to just make sure we can support them as much as we can. And then we have 3 informal contracts. So again, through our assessment phase, we determined that we could put 3 youth on an informal contract that doesn't include probation wardship. And so we have 3 youth on 6-month contracts. We usually have a high success rate with our diversion contracts. We have 4 youth in DJJ, and 1 is scheduled to go to a parole hearing to be discharged from DJJ sometime next month. So we will be prepared to serve that youth once he returns to the community if he does get released. And we still have 18 juvenile probation officers. And I know sometimes I forget, I think Jahan reports out on our EMP numbers, but we have 20 youth on EMP right now. And then in terms of, Mr. Bocanegra had asked about how many youth have gang orders. Thankfully, it's a very small number. We have 8 youth on probation with gang conditions. And in terms of our youth and the breakdown for race, we have 4% are American Indian or Alaskan Native, 4% are Asian, 13% African American Black, 67% Hispanic Latino or Spanish origin, 8% Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, and 4% white. And those are my updates. Oh, the other good news is that because things have lifted with and, you know, improved with COVID numbers, we are back out in the field. We're meeting with our youth and families. I know that they appreciate that. Definitely, it can be challenging for us when we're making phone calls or doing video appointments. So they really do like to have that contact with their probation officers, in most cases, of course. And so we are back out in the field and going to schools, going to homes. And I think the probation officers are happy too, because they were starting to get a little bit just cooped up. So any questions?
I see a question from Commissioner Rasmussen, or her hand up anyway.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Crawford. Nice to see you again. I have a quick question, and it's more of a technical question. I know that DJJ used to have a parole office in San Jose that used to work with the kids when they were released from the facility. Have those offices closed? And if not, when are they scheduled to close? And then is that then becoming your office's responsibility to sort of do the, under secure track, we'll be doing our own parole here? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I don't know of any offices in San Jose that have worked with our youth. That may have been some time ago. For the past, I want to say 3 or 4 years, maybe even longer, we've been supervising our youth when they come back. So we don't have an outside agency providing direct supervision. It's our officers, and then they are working with the youth to get them connected to Fly. Fly, again, is we always appreciate their support because of the reentry services that they provide, and then any additional supports that they might need in terms of housing and things like that. So
thank you so much. So there is no such thing as juvenile parole anymore in California, it sounds like.
Well, it came back to our county. So yeah, and it was some years ago, and I don't know the exact year, but yes, we've been supervising our youth that come back to the county.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Roxana?
Yes, thank you for that information, those numbers. 67%, it is a very high number for Hispanic Latinos incarcerated right now. And I'm wondering how many of those 67% are undocumented youth?
Well, we don't really ask those questions. Families can certainly let us know, but we're not tracking that information because as you can probably appreciate that our families are very nervous to share that information. So it's not something that we ask.
Okay, and then you also mentioned that you guys, there's some funding for foster care youth that supports with bills and rent. Is that given to the youth or the parents?
So it's given to the youth because they're an adult. There are times where we determine, and this isn't our case currently, but if a youth needs more support, maybe they've had a history of drug and alcohol abuse, we might make the parent the payee, or it might be the transitional housing program will receive the monthly stipend. But in most cases, it goes straight to the non-minor dependent.
Okay, got it. And then last question is, do you guys know where's like the highest percentage around the county? Like how many of these youth are coming from a specific areas?
Is that for the non-minor dependents?
Just for those 67%.
So I know in our I think it was our last meeting, I had shared the report, the annual report for the local action plan.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you take a look at that, you're going to get a better sense of where our highest numbers of youth and families reside that we're serving. If you need me to, I can put it in the chat again. But that's a really very comprehensive document that will provide you with a lot of information.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I do have it. I actually print out the whole package, and there's a lot of great programs that are there. So I'm excited to see the supporting at-risk youth local action plan. So I've been reading it, and I've been reading so many of the great stuff that those programs are providing. So thank you for that. Yeah, those are my last questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other
questions? Why don't we move on to update from Ms. Clark at the YSC?
Yes, we currently have 20 youth in custody at the YSC, one that is at Girls Camp. We had a bout with COVID, a few youth that were actually infected and recovered. So as far as our visits and things like that, we suspended in person, and I anticipate that to be lifted by next week. Once we're in the clear, anytime we have staff or youth that test COVID positive, it's the county protocol through public health that we go on a 2-week watch list. Other than that, school, it temporarily was also kind of more virtual or with packets just because they had issues at school. Other than that, everything is going well, and hopefully you guys can see, but I really, again, it's kind of past due, and I mentioned it last meeting, but really want to thank Joanna and Nori. They donated some tablets to our youth. We're still trying to figure out the specifics, but we did have all of our kids. I don't know, hopefully you can see it. Make a little poster for you guys. So it is here. And again, hopefully by the beginning of the month, we'll be up and running and able to resume our in-person visits and programming. Susan, we've been communicating about having someone with lived experience come and speak to the youth. So hopefully things will die down, just as Judge Edisati was talking about, where things will calm down a little, but because we are considered correctional facility congregate setting, the rules are a little bit different. Everybody still has to adhere to the mask mandates, showing that they have either a negative test or submit their vaccine information before they're allowed to come in. So we've opened up a little bit, and we anticipate opening up a little bit, but we still have some of the same restrictions. Joanna?
I just want to say thank you so much for that wonderful poster. That's deeply touching, and I'm so grateful to you and to the kids and everyone involved with doing that. So thank you so much.
No, thank you again. Susan?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that based on the inspection of the hall, where the youth said that they wanted to talk with someone who'd been through the hall and was succeeding, I reached out to Nick Jasso to see if he would be willing to go in, and he's willing. And Jan and Melanie will let me know when we can make that arrangement.
Yeah, I just think something like that touches a little bit more when it's in person, you know, than having something like that on a virtual platform. And I think what we've seen is some of our youth who've been here for a little bit kind of have that virtual fatigue. And so I really want to make sure that whoever comes in, they're able to really engage with whoever we have come in.
Yeah, I don't know that everyone knows who Nick Jasso is, but he was in the hall, and then he was one of our commissioners not so long ago and left to go to college, and he's been doing very well. He currently works for Fly in San Jose. So I think he would be an excellent person to talk to the young people who are in the hall now.
Commissioner Huber-Levy, I see your hand up.
Hi, yeah. Hi, Jahan. I was just interested that there are 5 additional youth in the Youth Services Center right now. Are those youth that came out of the investigations unit or phase? And there's one girl at Camp Kemp now, is that correct?
Yes. So we just had probably over the last week or two, just some new bookings, you know, youth who committed new crimes and still going through the court process. So it might change, you know, by tomorrow, next week, we could be back down a little bit.
Okay, so just so I understand, does that mean they're going through the assessment phase? Or
not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah. There may be some who go through the assessment phase because in Melanie, you can chime in if I'm not being clear, but those that commit new crimes that aren't probation, they're the ones that go through the assessment phase. And then you have others who might already be on probation and have committed a new offense and are here awaiting court. Everybody's situation is different. We might have some who are from out of county and have committed an offense and waiting to get transferred out. It just depends.
Okay, thank you so much. And the breakdown then is 19 male and 1 female?
No, so 20 males that are at the YSC and then 1 that's at the camp. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Let's keep moving through the updates from our partners. And I don't think that I see Aurora Pena. She would be next from behavioral health. And so if she is not here, then why don't we move on to an update from Ms. Luttrell.
Hey, good evening. And Monroe, I'm sensitive to your desire to have this time period end at 6, so I'll try to speak quickly and cover more next time in more depth. So this week wanted to share that we had our WASC visit, and that's when our accreditation team comes and meets with our school program, and our school program prior to that does in-depth analysis of our data, our programs, our services, what our needs are, what our goals are, and we're still waiting the recommendation of how long they'll give us accreditation for, but really powerful conversations and really positive conversations, and big appreciation to our staff who really rolled up their sleeves and made it happen. Oftentimes one person writes a report. In this case, all of the staff rolled up their sleeves and contributed. Wow. So it felt like a whole school. Even though we're a small program, it was really meaningful. So I'll keep you all posted on what the findings of that report is. And again, that's for court and community. So that includes Gateway, Camp Kemp, Hillcrest, and Canyon Oaks. As you heard from our probation partners, we have about 20 students in Hillcrest, although this is a closed week. It's a mid-winter break, and so most of the districts in San Mateo County are closed this week. So as Ms. Clark said, we'll see how many are still there when school reopens next week and see who gets enrolled in Hillcrest. And then Canyon Oaks is full, and we actually have a waiting list at Canyon Oaks. And I do look forward to more in-depth discussion next week about Gateway, but I'm really excited about ways that I know this body will be interested as we've been partnering with districts around how to better serve a broader spectrum of students within their district and really kind of move away from exclusionary programming. And so we know that that contributes to a school to prison pipeline, and we're really excited about some progress forward in that direction. And then wanted to share also that we have John Fong, our partner here, he heads the CISOC, which is Children in the Youth System of Care. And so that's where we all come together. We meaning probation, child and family services, SELPA, San Mateo County Office of Ed, BHRS. And so we make sure our systems are calibrated and are doing the best they can to serve all of our students, especially those with the greatest need. And so we get to stay in close conversations. We also have the Coalition for Safe Schools and Communities. And really those two bodies have come together and recognized, coming out of the pandemic, even though, we are seeing like we're getting on the other side of Omicron, that we have some incredible protocols that we've spent many years developing, things like the suicide prevention protocol, the threat assessment protocol, the CSEC prevention protocol, a protocol for San Mateo County of how to respond to the possibility of a sexual assault. And so in those protocols, it really talks about how our system should be coordinating our efforts. And so we are rolling up our sleeves and recognizing that we've had so many new hires across our systems in the last 2 years. We have COVID brain, so some folks need to, have some cobwebs cleaned out and just remember, how do we do this work together? And so we're going to be launching some more in-depth, either new trainings for folks who have come on board or refreshers. But it's so exciting that for us in San Mateo County, we have really invested time and energy over the years to make sure that when we're serving a youth, especially a youth in crisis or in great need, that our systems know how to support that young person. So we'll be getting our trainings up and going and getting our systems back involved. But other than that, I think we are seeing the other side of Omicron, and I look forward to a spring where schools look a little bit more normal.
Great. Thank you, Janae. Johanna, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Very quick question. How many children are on the waiting list for Canyon Oaks?
I don't know. I'm sorry. Actually, that would be a BHRS question. I just know there is one.
Melissa.
Hi, Janae. I love Janae. I am interested in knowing when we talked during the inspection about MAP testing and finding more ways, doing a comprehensive understanding of MAP as measures of academic progress, doing a comprehensive, and then also going more in depth, like what's the process, what's the progress on that?
The progress on the MAP testing implementation and
on analyzing it, using it to see whether children are progressing, and then also using it in instruction. I just know in September when we were finalizing our document, it was like, okay, we're really using this.
Yeah, it's true. So as you heard from Melissa, we work really hard. As you all know, we get students where they are at whatever grade and in whatever state that they're coming to us in, and we need to know what their strengths are. And Pathways, I believe it's called Pathways, and that's another software program that really does very in-depth analysis. And so we've taken Pathways and we've matched it with MAP, and our team really feels like we're getting a better understanding of where that particular student's strengths are in the area of math and writing and reading. And so it helps us, the team's really excited and feels like we are better honing in on supporting those students. I don't yet know, Melissa, I'm happy to check, and maybe this can be in my report if we have some more tangible examples that I can come back with to talk about how we're utilizing the data.
Or longitudinal, like if a child's there for 2 years, do we see 2 years of progress? Do we see 3? Do we,
Yeah, we won't have that yet because we haven't been doing it for the 2 years, but we're looking to chunk it more. So we also get a better sense if we're on track, are we seeing progress in a short window, maybe grading period to grading period. So I will see what data the team has, and I'm happy to bring that back.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Huber-Levy.
Hi, Janae. I just want to Hi, I just wanted to double check when you said that Canyon Oaks is full, is that we had 12 students last month, is full?
12, yes.
That's 12. So that's what we had last month too. And in terms of Gateway, still 19, same cohort at Gateway?
We're either at 19 to 21. We were sitting, a student graduated. So fortunately, a student graduated. But we had a couple referrals. One of the things that I'll talk more about when we go into Gateway is what we were finding is in many cases, districts were needing more specialized special education supports, and Gateway was not, while we serve students with disabilities, we weren't a specialized special education program. But I'm excited to say that we at the County Office of Ed are really exploring opening a classroom that would better support some of the needs that we were seeing districts need. But I will share that in my report next time. So Karen, to answer your point, we're at 19 to 21, but I can.
Okay, yep, that's great. Thank you.
All right, great. Let's move on to an update from John Fong from Children and Family Services, who also submitted some numbers for us that are in the agenda packet. So you can refer to that maybe while he gives us the highlights.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. And Judge Edizade and Janae, certainly appreciate your comments. Thank you. You know, what have we learned from COVID-19 over the past 2 years? I mean, what haven't we learned? But what we have learned, certainly in San Mateo County, is our system of care for our youth and families is extremely strong. We've had some ups and downs, but we have learned so much about our system and so much of what it takes to coordinate, collaborate, and really offer our children and youth and families a high level of care in our county. Super proud to be a part of it. So I just wanted to start there. 2 years almost to the date of dealing with COVID-19. And it has been an amazing ride. We as an essential service have been out in the field doing our front end investigation since the beginning. Had moments in time where the state provided some flexibilities in terms of use of virtual formats to provide our services. But for the most part, the core functions of our child welfare agency here locally has been serving in person since March 16th, 2020. Omicron certainly threw a little hitch in how we wanted to start out the new year. Felt like we were moving in the right direction, getting people back in person to a greater degree in office. We had about a 3-week suspension of our in-office planning. Those who were able to telework went back home, and we have resumed our in-office hybrid model at this point, which is 2 days in office for most staff, and all full-time for many others. In terms of what we're seeing in numbers, as of September 2021, we really started to see our calls to the hotline get back to where they were pre-COVID. And by that, I mean in the 500 to 600 calls range. That's not how many reports we go out on, but that is a good thing. That means we have eyes and ears on kiddos. That means that we are doing what we need to be doing as community members, as mandated reporters, you all, to alert us to any concerns that you might have of our kids out in the community. So that's where I want to end, and that is, we can't do what we do without you all, without our system and community partners, really keeping an eye on our kids. Coordination between our system agencies, extremely important for us to be able to deliver the services that we do. I did send you the data for February. Open to any questions that you might have of any of the data that you see there. As you will notice, our children in care overall has been declining for many years now, but certainly over the past 2 years. And in part, that's due to the limited number of entries into our system during the initial phases of COVID-19. So when we talk about an impact, it wasn't just at the hotline. Subsequently, that's less petitions filed through the juvenile court and less involvement, court involvement of families. But we do anticipate that to uptick now that our hotline numbers are up. and we're getting out there and investigating more reports of child abuse and neglect. Haven't quite seen it yet, but we do anticipate over the next year to get back to where we were COVID-19, pre-COVID-19. Susan, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have of the November report. I missed specifically what part of the report you had a question about, but I did pull up my numbers and I'm happy to refer to it so I can correct the record if need be. Otherwise, open to any questions. Oh, one last thing. Our 5-year system improvement plan, which is a state mandated plan, strategic plan for every child welfare agency in California, is going to expire in March of 2023. In preparation for that, we conduct a county self-assessment, which includes focus groups, stakeholder groups, to come to the table to self-assess how we are doing as a public child welfare agency, as a system. So I'll certainly be reaching out to many of you to come to the table and participate in that process. The county self-assessment will then drive the development of our next 5-year system improvement plan. So we're excited about it. It's an opportunity for us to kind of shake off the dust and see where we want to prioritize our efforts in the next 5 years. Any questions?
Melissa, I think I saw your hand up. You're on mute.
500 to 600 a month, you said, for calls that you received with possible issues. I was wondering how many of those then, you know, what's the next step? And it gets whittled to this many who we have, you do a follow-up call maybe, and then this many you do a home visit. Can you give me just a sense of that funnel?
Yeah, I mean, it varies from month to month, you know, obviously, but generally speaking, it's about a 40 to 50% response rate out of, you know, the full scope of calls that we get to our hotline.
Okay.
And we use a standardized assessment to ensure that we are objectively going out and making the assessment as to who we go out and see and who we do not.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, great. I'll try to get a little time back. Thank you for all those updates, and commissioners may need to move a little faster on some of their updates to get to all of them, but I do want to pause now for public comment. We did say that for items on the agenda that we would pause for public comment when we got to those items. So after that wealth of information from our partners in the county, are there any members of the public that have any comment on this agenda item? And sorry if it's not clear, you can come off mute and say something, say you'd like to speak, or under the reactions button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a way to raise your hand. Okay, I don't think I see any public comments, so we will move on to the rest of the agenda. So we're approaching our second hour, and our second hour, we're going to hear mainly from commissioners who are members of our various standing and ad hoc committees to update on what they've been working on. So I will start that off. Now we are on, sorry, I think it is agenda item 3. Do I have that right? Sorry. No, 4. So on inspections, Commissioner Flores was headed up our inspections last year, and she did a great job. Thank you. And that is a busy job. So we usually turn that over each year. And I emailed commissioners during the month to find out who was interested in taking on the job of organizing our inspections. And Commissioner Rasmussen has volunteered. And as chair of the commission, I have the power to name her the chair of the the inspections ad hoc committee for the standing committee for 2022. So Johanna, thank you very much for taking that on. And I'm not sure I said this at actually at the meeting in November, but I have said it to other commissioners. There's really no one better than a mother of a child who has been in the system to lead the inspections. The job that Johanna and her team, but that I think she led doing the inspection of the YSC last year was really outstanding. So Johanna, we're happy to have you leading up all the inspections this year.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And with that, I will turn over the updates to you because the next one on the agenda is an update on what's happening with social media and marketing.
Thank you very much. So I included some numbers in the packet. Those numbers, I believe, were current. It's a short month and we're meeting kind of early. So they were only good through the first half of the month, but we're growing. Just since that time alone, our numbers on YouTube, the number of watches, we're getting almost 100 views, which is really phenomenal. Before we launched our social media program, we had like 19 views on YouTube for who's watching our meetings. So I think it's a really good tool for the community, for parents, for interested parties, teachers, whomever, whenever they have time to check in and watch our meetings, it's available there on YouTube for them to do so. Our Spotlight Series campaign is going wonderful. There's other agencies around. I'm so sorry, my dog's deciding to bark, of course, when I'm off of mute. So there's other agencies that are using that the same type of series, and so it's catching on with folks, and we're growing, and things are going well. So I think I also want to remind our new commissioners to please submit your biographies as soon as possible so we can add them to the website. So that's my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Johanna. Anyone have any questions for Johanna about social media and marketing, or about the numbers in the agenda packet? All right, thank you also for the work you do there, Johanna. That's another busy job, so we appreciate you and the time that you put in. The next update from standing committees is from Commissioner Enriquez, who's going to give us an update on membership and recruiting.
Awesome, thank you. So very quickly, so I am actually the vice chair of the membership now of the commission, and I'm very happy to just share that we are working on some clarity on the commission goals. So I need support from our commissioners. So I'm asking if I could have, some commissioners just be part of the interview committee for the whole year. Right now, I know that we have Mr. Luis and also Mr. Duty as part of the interview committee, and myself, and I need at least one more commissioner. So if anybody wants to sign up, just let me know so I could write down your name and we can meet up and we could get this started and going. Johanna, would you like to be part of the interview committee?
Yes, I'd be happy to serve on that.
Awesome. Yay. Yay. Awesome. Okay. So I will keep you guys updated and send you guys an email. We do have a lot of folks who are interested to be in our commission, and some are present today. So thank you so much for being here. And also, I know that we have been holding off on two potential candidates for this commission. And I just want to say thank you for your patience, and that we will be reaching out to you as soon as we have our interview committee, which we already have. So just I'll keep you guys posted sometime this week or next week. I'm
happy to join too, or be a backup if you need it, more people.
Okay, thank you so much, Rebecca. And that's pretty much it. Anyone else?
Any questions for Commissioner, or for our Vice Chair on membership and recruiting?
Nope.
Okay, good. Thank you. And the next update is had my name next to it regarding our dashboard. This was a project last year. The dashboard was created, and it was created with the help of Commissioner Aurora, who was a volunteer at the time, and our chairs, our co-chairs last year, kept it updated. Some of you have noticed that maybe some of the numbers are a bit old and need updating. So actually, they may have been updated in the last couple of weeks. Commissioner Aurora and I met, and we're going to work going forward on keeping that updated and making some improvements to it. As I said to him during that meeting, my goal is that our dashboard is something that we actively use and use in our meetings, which we're not doing now. So it should have relevant and recent information in it that we can use in our meetings, in addition to being available to members of the public. So there is a link to it on the commission's website, which is part of the probation website, and so we will be keeping those numbers updated, and I'm very happy to have Commissioner Aurora's quantitative and technical skills to do that. Great. All right, so let's keep moving along. We're catching up a little bit on the agenda, and we're going to move on to ad hoc committees. So the first one, and I had allocated 15 minutes for this because this was a big topic for us in January that we said we wanted to come back to, is our committee that we created last month on mission, aspirations, and operating policies. So there was something in the, there is something in the agenda packet on a draft of a new mission statement, as well as a draft of some redrafting of some of the aspirations that are in our strategic plan. So the committee has met a couple of times, and you can see on the agenda that that includes me, Paul Bocanegra, Roxana Enriquez, Karen Huber-Levy, and missing from that is Susan Swope. These are the members of our committee. We've met a few times, had good discussions, and we have been working mainly on the mission statement and the aspirations. I know that some commissioners had comments and suggested changes for the operating policies. We're going to get to that next month, so so we should have more of an update on operating policies in March. But the main thing that I wanted us to try to accomplish here is to look at the new mission statement that we drafted and hopefully adopt it. So I'm going to share my screen to pull that up. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. It should be this. All right, great. So the current mission statement is, you can see at the top, everyone should be able to see that. I'm assuming everyone can see revisions to the current mission statement and the proposed one in yellow. The current mission statement is there at the top. In our discussions, let me just highlight what we suggested changing. There are a few things here. One is that the current mission statement refers to youth, to juveniles, to minors, and in our discussion, we just decided we would prefer to refer only to young people and youth. Technically, not all of the young people who are in the system are actually minors, so that's one technicality. But also, we just prefer the term young people and youth to juveniles. So that was the source of one of the changes. And then the other thing that you'll see here in the mission statement, this new proposed mission statement, as well as in the aspirations, which we'll also get to, is that instead of just stating our goals and mission in the negative, i.e. that we want to prevent youth from entering the system, we wanted to also talk about it in the positive, which is to say that our goal is that they thrive and succeed. And then furthermore, you'll see when we get to the aspirations that we're gonna aspire also that their families thrive and succeed, since that is so fundamental and important to their success. So, that's another source of changes. And then the third concept that is new to the mission statement, which Commissioner Bocanegra brought up last time, is that while respect for human dignity is definitely a universal concept that we aspire to, that from his personal experience in the system, he wanted us to emphasize that we also should recognize that these young people are youth and that we want to preserve their youth. So we're not just preserving their human dignity, but their youth. And so that was another insertion into the mission statement. So, I want to make a motion on behalf of this committee that we adopt this new mission statement for our commission as written and as you see here. And I believe that, and Susan will correct me, our parliamentarian, Susan Swope, can correct me if I'm wrong, but since this is a committee bringing this forward, we don't actually need a second.
Because the rest of the committee is your second.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So that is the motion that we adopt this this new mission statement. Commissioners, do you have questions and discussion? Commissioner Rasmussen, please.
I just wanted to say thank you to the full subcommittee who worked on this. I love this. I love the language. I love everything about it. So thank you so much for this wonderful product that you've all come up with. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that comment. Any other discussion or questions from commissioners on this motion? Okay.
So, Monroe, this is Judge Edibati speaking. Just a quick, this is obviously, I think it's a wonderful suggestion, but because the commission is governed by statute, have you considered getting an opinion from county council on the proposed revised mission statement? That would just be something that I was thinking of. Because it's statute driven.
Right. We have not, and we did not actually do that, I believe, as part of our development of our strategy 2 years ago and last year. We did, Commissioner Huber-Levin and I did have a conversation with Judith Holber, who is our county counsel, about the operating policies a few weeks ago. Or actually, sorry, I should say it was, I think it was before the January meeting. But that is a good suggestion. And as part of looking at our operating policies, one of the things that at least Commissioner Huber-Levin and I have done, and I think and our committee will do when we turn to the operating policies, we have definitely been looking at the Welfare and Institutions Code, which which creates our commission. So thank you for that comment. Any other? I was going to call for comments from the public. Are there any other public comments on this proposed mission statement? Commissioner Huber-Levin.
I was just going to suggest that we take Judge Edizadi's advice and have our county council take a look at the mission statement And we now know that our commissioners are in favor of it, but perhaps we don't vote on it until we hear comments from Ms. Halber, and then we can come back to the commission with it.
I think that's a good idea. So why don't we table this motion until next month? But there's a preview for everyone of kind of where we're heading with the mission statement. Great. All right, let's keep moving.
I saw Wesley had his hand raised.
Let me. It's a little hard for me to see who's got their hand raised when we're screen sharing. So I don't actually see. Oh, he's got his physical hand raised. Okay,
yes, physical hand.
Yes,
non-digital hand.
Go ahead, Wesley.
Yeah, I had a comment about an earlier segment, but I didn't get a chance to say it yet. But regarding the social media and recruiting part, I think it overlaps between Commissioner Enriquez and Commissioner Rasmussen. I was wondering, like, besides the social media account, if there's actual recruitment to join the commission or to watch the commission meetings happening. So not just the account, like actual outreach happening.
Yeah, let me just jump in and take it real quick because I want to keep us moving on our agenda. But Wesley, the short answer is yes, that on social media, for example, and on the website, people can find out about our meetings and come and definitely part of the effort to build up followers in social media is to promote the work, the opportunities to volunteer, opportunities to come to meetings, and opportunities to join the commission. In addition to that, we do also advertise positions when they're open. So there are a couple of websites where the fact that there is an opening on the commission that is posted. So we have received quite a bit of interest in the past from potential commissioners through those means as well. So there is actual recruiting happening. In addition, commissioners are actually reaching out to people personally who might be interested in joining the commission. And we have 3 spots on the commission that we could fill.
And if I could just briefly add that I attend community meetings regularly. And so I announce what's happening at our commission, that if there's openings, what projects we're working on. So at every opportunity under this, in the pandemic, I use it to spread the word about our commission and our work and welcome people to join us.
All right, let me take back the speaking here and I'm going to share my screen again to talk about the aspirations and the suggested changes to our aspirations that the committee's been working on. And instead of making a motion to adopt any of these because the others are still work in progress, I'll just give a quick update on our thoughts so far on changes to aspirations. And then I would anticipate, given the pace at which we're moving, that we will have a new mission statement and a new set of aspirations to vote on at our next meeting. And in addition, I think we're actually pretty close on finishing up the aspirations, so we will take up potential changes to the operating policy as well in the next month, and hopefully have those ready to vote on at our March meeting as well. So quickly, I'm going to share screen again. And there it is. So we currently have 3 aspiration statements. They are one about the conduct and how the commission itself actually operates, one about the juvenile justice part of our mission, and one about the delinquency prevention part of our mission. And so the discussions that we've had in our meetings this past month center around expanding those aspirations. So we're talking about taking it up to 5 aspirations, where the first one wouldn't really change much. Really, we just want to make a tweak here to reflect that we may broaden our outreach. And in particular, you'll see that our aspirations, as we talked about last month, we want to focus a little bit more on schools And so the first aspiration reflects the fact that we want to kind of broaden our outreach. We've mostly been doing outreach to supervisors and city council people over the last couple of years. So the second aspiration, I don't have the current ones as written now, but it is focused on youth who enter the juvenile justice system, providing them support for mental health, substance abuse, and transition back to the community. So essentially what we're proposing is we split that one up into two so that we can place a greater emphasis on transition back to the community. And I think Commissioner Bocanegra put it well. I think he said this in the last monthly meeting, but he definitely said it in this committee meeting, in saying that transition begins from the moment that a young person enters the system. That from that point that we should be working on supporting and rehabilitating and preparing them to thrive and succeed. So, I mentioned this concept of stating in the positive and doing what we can for youth to thrive and succeed. You can see that in the redrafting of the aspirations, as well as the idea of healing families, which Commissioner Enriquez encouraged us to include in the aspirations, so that the statements now, instead of just focusing on youth, also mention their families, and that we aspire for their families to thrive and succeed as well. So that gives you just a bit of a preview. And like I said, in the interest of time and because this is all still work in progress, I'm not going to make a motion to vote on these or to adopt these, but we will bring all 5 back to the meeting next month. Any questions or comments before we move on to the next committee doing work for the commission? Okay, I don't see any. So let's keep going. Oh, that's me. All right. So I'll be quick. I just wanted to do a quick update on the Reimagine Juvenile Hall committee that was created by a resolution that we brought to the Board of Supervisors last year. And there are several other members of that committee who are here. The only update is just that we have not actually reconvened this committee. Sorry, just to be clear, this is not a subcommittee of the commission, but rather a committee that was created by the Board of Supervisors. And Commissioner Bocanegra and I serve on it. We met in November for our first meeting. We have not, because of holiday, Omicron surge, and so forth, had a chance to reconvene, but we do have 2 more meetings scheduled, one in March and one in April. So the work of this Reimagine Juvenile Hall Committee will continue in March, and that's my only update on it. Also, the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council and the SB 823 subcommittee of that, or the subcommittee related to realignment and DJJ, did meet this just last week, and so the quick update there is that first of all, the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council, amongst other things, one of its main jobs is to oversee state money that is spent in the county that comes from 2 state grants. It's about $4 million a year. And the quick update from Chief Keene at that meeting was that that budget is remaining and staying flat. So we will continue to have about the same amount of money coming from those state grants. Then the subcommittee on DJJ realignment met, and I think the sort of relevant and interesting update here is that the state is created a new office called OICR, Office of Youth and oh, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the what it stands for at the moment. But anyway, that new state office was created just at the end of last year. And there is a new director who was also appointed just at the end of last year. And she is a former judge who is very much committed to the youth coming out of DJJ and supporting them. So she only has a couple of staff at the moment. So the work of that office is really just beginning. And it's beginning with review of all of the plans that have been submitted by counties around the state those plans outline what they are planning to do with realignment block grants. So San Mateo County submitted its plan at the end, right at the end of 2021, and the review of that plan is underway. But the funds for realignment have been allocated, and at this point, we have not needed to use it yet. But as we heard from Probations update, we may have one youth coming back to our community soon, and when a youth does come back to the community, then according to the plan, a multidisciplinary team will be convened within 30 days to develop a plan for that youth. Any questions about DJJ realignment or comments?
So Monroe, it was the Office of Youth and Community Restoration, OYCR. And it's Catherine Lucero, who just retired from the Santa Clara County bench. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, Judge Abdulzadeh. I was rushing to catch up on time, and so I forgot a couple of details there.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Any questions about the SBA 23 subcommittee on DJJ realignment? It's an important topic for us. Okay, so let's keep moving then and hearing updates from other commissioners. I believe that, oh, look, I'm on there again. I will only say that we do have a committee to do outreach to elected officials. We have not been able to hold any new meetings since our last meeting. And I am looking for a volunteer to work with Commissioner Bocanegra to take over my responsibilities to do outreach because I'm busy enough with being the chair now, so I could definitely use some help on that. And I will reach out to commissioners who are interested by email after this meeting. All right, finally, I can turn it over to someone else. The next on the agenda is an update on Peer Circle from Commissioners Willis and Wilson.
Yes. May I share my screen?
Yes. I think we need to make you a co-host, and Commissioner Rasmussen is on it. So go ahead, Melissa.
Okay. Thank you so much. We are in Austin's quarterfinals for his basketball team. So that is where he is right now, is being a teenager. So we've made a tremendous amount of progress, and I wanted to make sure, you know, the commissioners and the volunteers who are working, let's see, slideshow. I'm slideshowing, who are working on this. So first of all, we have a real name now, which is PeerPoint, because peerpoint.org is also available. And the subtitle is Youth Diversion Partnership, which I think we've come to realize that this is really about schools and police and us, ideally probation, all partnering together. The genesis of this, which you'll recall, was the Youth Needs Index by the CCCS study, and then focusing on those communities that don't have diversion. And so we're starting with emphasis in Redwood City area, Sequoia Union High School District, and also Daly City. as our 2 points of focus, but we want to be an all-county solution. We're working with the Gardner Center at Stanford. So the county manager's office is funding a study. And so these are the outcomes that we're going to be measuring. And we've come up with various ways to measure each of these outcomes that for what we want for our youth and for our communities, for the families that are part of it. And then also what we want for the youth, not just the youth who were referred to the program, but the youth who run the program and who are part of the program. So we've made a tremendous amount of progress. I wanted to let Alex and Wesley introduce themselves, and also Sasha introduce herself with just a little brief, what are you doing? Because I think it gives you insight into how this organism is running. Wesley, do you want to describe your short activities?
Okay, so I found out about the San Mateo peer court project actually from Marin's peer court project. So I got involved there first, and then Austin connected me with San Mateo. So right now I'm on the grants subcommittee and restorative plans subcommittee. So I help with applying for different grants to help fund our program. And for restorative plans, we research different aspects of our restorative plan. Right now, we're trying to collaborate with, let's see, Michigan State, San Jose State, USF, and San Francisco State, along with Stanford, of course. So that's a little snapshot into what I'm doing.
Thank you, Wesley. How about you, Alex?
Hi, so I'm Alex. I'm on the onboarding team of the PeerPoint, and basically what we're doing is basically just outreach to basically trying to get other people to join both the youth leadership team and also basically just our volunteers to obviously bring more awareness to the program.
Okay, and Sasha?
Hi, everyone. Sorry you can't have my video on today, but I have been with PeerPoint since September. And I guess in a nutshell, I do a lot of the operations things. I help advise the youth or the peer teams, the youth leadership team, and give guidance if they need it. And yeah, I'm committed to seeing this through and helping facilitate the launch of this program, because we've gone so far. And now we get the opportunity to put it on the ground. So that's super exciting.
So we're getting really close, which is exciting. We have a youth leadership team, which is about 12 to 14 young people. We've been training people and practicing holding circles, and we have 2 more before we launch. And if you'd like to attend them, they're open to the public. Go to hearusyouth.com. We have rebranded from Hear Us Youth to PeerPoint, but don't have the website up yet. Sasha organized a training for all the county SROs in restorative practices, and San Mateo County Office of Ed was the trainer, which is awesome. And we also hired an officer in who is a restorative practitioner. And that's one of the ways we're trying to impact sort of the larger ecosystem around discipline. We've been doing a good job raising money. The Board of Supervisor commitments have not come through, and so we're having to do this the more slow way. That being said, we've selected Menlo Atherton High School, and we'll be doing a mini launch in April. Next page. So we're working, this is also a youth commission project now, and we're using a fiscal sponsor. So you can become a 501c3 and have your own legal entity, or you can piggyback off of somebody else's legal entity. And so that's what we're planning on doing. So the San Francisco Study Center is going to be providing, payroll, HR, benefits, and making sure we're legal. And we're also going to benefit from their knowledge. Our locations are still for practice in EPA and Daly City. Amaya, who you all know, has put us in touch with the Stanford Psychology Department, and they are doing an intervention in our program, which is exciting. And Wesley mentioned the big problem we've realized is that we're going to need more mentors than we have. So Friends for Youth even only connects 50 kids per year with a caring adult. So we've found a model called the Adolescent Diversion Program at Michigan that uses undergraduates to be mentors and case managers. So that's what we're tracking down now. And that would let us serve more kids at a less cost. And then we're also working with Janae Luttrell to wonder whether we can be a contractor for districts who need to support their youth more intensively. So we're in conversation there. And that would be a way to have a sustainable model. In terms of the process, this is sort of the flow chart of how you go through the program. You'll see it says lottery. We don't know what to do about this because for a good study, you have to have a lottery, but no one wants to have a lottery on kids. So that's still being worked out. We think we're not going to have a lottery, but our data won't be as good. The plan that gets brokered with the respondent and the youth advocate and is then presented to the peer circle, and the peer circle considers and approves or amends, is based on this menu of options. So this is basically a good summary of all the services that we've built into the program. Or that are our commitments to youth, depending on what they need. And so I just wanted to, in terms of like, what do we do in-house? Obviously, we're running the circles, the trainings under personal skill development and any restorative circles. And then some of these other ones, we're using outside agencies to be able to provide that support. And there's a lot to read here. And so I'll go back to that if you have questions. So in April, we're going to be at Menlo Atherton High School. We'll finish the rest of the year with them and see about 10 cases. And then this summer, school's out, we're going to focus on police departments and getting some contracts with them or funded activities with them. And then in the fall, we will, again, this is depending on funding, probably we know we'll be at Menlo Atherton, but we'd like to be in Daly City, but we don't know that we have money for that. One of the things you'll see that the cost varies by quarter. And so then here is sort of the by quarter projections of where we'll be, how many youth, that's in blue, how many youth can we serve that quarter, how many participants will be in our circles. So what's the larger size of the organization? How many employees? The titles of those employees, a breakdown of wages, stipends for youth. So something that's important is that youth who come from system impacted communities or have come through the system as a respondent, we're going to pay them a stipend to continue to participate. And that's so that a peer circle is a true identity match with the youth that we're seeing. So I may have run through my whole presentation and I'll take questions and I'll stop sharing my screen unless you want to refer to something.
Why don't we stop the share? Melissa, so let me jump in and just clarify or ask a quick question. You're talking about employees, budget, so forth, and saying we are working towards this. But I just want to clarify, there's a committee that the commission created to look into this. Mm-hmm. And there is also a nonprofit that is being incubated, right, mm-hmm. and created. But we is not the same, right? Can you clarify that for us?
Right. So yes, there's a larger we and then a commission we. So the idea of this is to support this venture until it has legs. And one good heuristic for what does legs mean is the ability to hire an executive director. And the second would be, do we have the ability to choose to spin off into an independent nonprofit or not? Right. until we have an executive director, at the very least, the commissioners are acting as, co-ED, basically, trying to guide the project and
guide and steer.
Make sure it fulfills, and really a lot of it is also fund. So yes, this will have its own life and be just a normal organization, but we're not there yet.
Right.
Okay. So when I say when I say we, I think of the team, which is different from the commission.
Right. The committee, the commission's committee is helping to advise here and bring this to life, but the commission is not creating a nonprofit, just to be clear.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, good. Commissioner Norrie, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I have two questions. I know me and Melissa talked about this a while ago, but was there any more clarification on what specific type of offenses might get referred to peer court from like MA? And like, secondly, like, since it is a school setting, is there like more of an emphasis of getting like teachers involved in the process? Like, for example, like the students' teachers?
Right. Okay. So I'm talking to the MA principal tomorrow at 3. So that's going to get clarified a lot more, but I don't have all the answers. Something that's really exciting is that Sasha, who can't be on screen, Sasha is a co-founder, a central player here. And Sasha actually has been hired by PCRC and is under contract at Menlo Atherton High School to do restorative justice work or restorative practices work with students. And maybe Sasha, what that allows for, and Sasha will have to tell you what she's doing, but that allows for a complete integration with what we're doing off campus and what's happening on campus. So I don't have the perfect answer for you. What I have heard from the principal thus far is that he doesn't want to use it for fights, but he wants to use it for all other categories. And I don't know why. So I'll find
more to come next month. So let me, with an update next month. So let me jump in and say thank you very much for that update, Melissa. This committee has been very busy, and potentially we can have an item on an agenda for a future meeting that's even longer than 10 minutes, because there's a lot going on here. But I just want to jump in and move on to the next agenda item, just so that we have time, because we have about 20 minutes left, and we have 2 more commissioners that are going to update us on the work of their committees. So Commissioner Swope, the next 2 items on like the committees that have been looking at diversion programs in the county, as well as looking at making recommendations on improving school attendance. Why don't you go ahead and I don't know if you can get those done in 10 minutes, but that would be great. But you do your best.
My best. Well, Austin, Deborah, and I have been working on this, and we're getting close to being finished. But in terms of looking into the diversion programs, necessitated our calling all of the police departments in the county to find out what they're doing. And in doing that, we found we were talking to a lot of SROs. So we have talked to all of the police departments and the sheriff's department. And because there's a lot of buzz in the school districts about SROs, we decided we would interview them about how they were carrying out their SRO activities, as well as whether they had a diversion program that either they ran or that they referred youth to from their jurisdiction. Deborah completed a write-up about the SRO activities. 10 of the 30 county cities provide SRO services to the school districts in their cities. South San Francisco has suspended its SRO program pending negotiating an MOU. And Millbrae, San Carlos, Woodside, Portola Valley, most of the coastal cities and unincorporated San Mateo County contract SRO services from the Sheriff's Department. Now there's a significant range of services that SROs provide, from being on call for a specific incident to those who are on site full-time and make a concentrated effort to establish a relationship with the students, the teachers, and the administration. And They often provide classes on crime and illegal drug use prevention. They provide security and crowd control for school functions and follow up with truant students. But since the onset of COVID-19, many SROs were reassigned to patrol while the schools were closed. And some were tasked during that time with contacting students who were not attending class online and providing support and finding out what they needed in order to participate. I think it's interesting that the Youth Commission initiated a survey of the county's students, asking them about their experience with SROs. Thus far, I don't understand why they've gotten no feedback. I suspect if they did, they would have some positive reactions and some negative reactions. I think we've probably all seen the horror stories online about SROs treating young people terribly. But I think there are SROs and there are SROs. There's good and bad in any large group of people. And a number of these SROs have specifically dressed differently than the regular police officer in order to be a little more friendly and relaxed. They dress in a polo shirt and khaki slacks or chinos and a vest, and to try and present a more friendly aspect when they're working with the students. So I'm concerned that we may throw the baby out with the bathwater if we just say SROs shouldn't be on campus anymore. I think that's something that we maybe should look at. But getting to the diversion programs, initially we identified 4 diversion programs in San Mateo County. They're run by Probation and the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department, the Redwood City Police Department, and the City of San Mateo's Police Department. But in the last week, we became aware of 2 other possible programs, and we need to look at to see if they are truly diversion programs. The South San Francisco Unified School District says they refer youth to the Boys and Girls Club Alternatives to Suspension program, but the Boys and Girls Club says they don't consider that a diversion program. So is it or is it not? We need to figure that out. San Bruno PD's SRO says he refers youth to North Peninsula Family Alternatives, which is a multi-agency community-based juvenile diversion program serving North County. Now this could be, since it's a multi-agency thing, this could be what the Boys and Girls Club is doing, so we need to sort that out. I have drafted descriptions for diversion programs we know of, and I'm working on the summary and summarizing the information that we've gotten in tables so that you can see a comparison. Right now, there are few youth in the diversion programs. Probation had 9 during 2020, 2021, and I think they have fewer now. The Sheriff's Department had 8 as of July 2021. The City of San Mateo had 16 in fiscal year 2019, 2020. And Redwood City just recently hired their person to run the program to take Manuel Velarde's place, who moved to the Sheriff's Department. And she has only 2, that's Stephanie Martinez, who we know, who's been at our meeting, and she's expecting to add 2 more. But now the schools are back in session, and I'm hearing from County Office of Education that there are a lot of fights on campus. I think the number of youth who are going to need this kind of diversion is going to go up. And all 4 indicate a high level of success. Nearly all the youth that any of them have had in their program have completed their contract and have not reoffended. So this is clearly a good way of working with the youth. And all of these require that the youth have been charged with something, have been arrested. So I think here is where our peer, what are we calling it? Peer
point.
Peer point. I think peer point is going to be able to fill in a really, really vital function of working with the youth who are at danger of being suspended or expelled and keeping them from ever having to have contact with an arresting officer. I see Karen has a question.
Yeah, Susan, you mentioned that the two diversion-esque programs that you were looking at in South City and I forget where the other one was, that you're not sure if they're diversion. Are you working with a definition of diversion? Like, is there a generally accepted scope of diversion to apply, or is it kind of?
Well, to me, a diversion program is a program where someone is given a contract of the things they need to do to get back on track and to avoid having to go to the DA's office, because with all of the diversion programs, either they fulfill their 6-month contract or they're referred to the DA for possible prosecution. And I think Judge Adizade or Melanie or Yehan could tell me if I'm wrong about that, but I think that's the way it goes. So to me, a diversion program is one that keeps a young person out of court.
Okay, so it's possible.
I see Judge Adizade nodding her head. So
okay, okay. So it's you have the feeling then with those other two programs that they're not really serving that purpose?
I think they may be serving that purpose. I don't know. I think I need to talk to them, because I only heard about them recently. One of them I only heard about yesterday.
Mm. Right. Where was that one?
That's where is it? The North Peninsula Family Alternatives. Oh, right. I'm having trouble Googling it because I keep coming up with ones on other sides of the county, and I'm sure they must have a website.
You think?
Susan,
thank you.
Let me jump in and see if we can get on to the next agenda item. It sounds like you've collected a lot of information about diversion programs and are preparing a report, which we might see next month. Is that a good summary?
Yes, my intention is to complete writing it in the next couple of days and then to send it out to the people, to the programs that are mentioned, to make sure that what we have put in there is correct. Because I don't want to be representing something that's not correct. So
right, that will be a really useful report to have, and it'll be great to see all that information. Maybe we have about 10 minutes left. Is it possible to do a quick update on what the school attendance committee has been working on, and then pass it off to Commissioner Huber-Levy?
Yeah, because I've been doing stuff with this and with PeerPoint, we haven't met since I think December before Christmas. And I was hoping we would get back working by mid-January, but we haven't. So I'm going to be talking to Janae and the other people on the committee. We did get, I think I mentioned we had a survey of the school districts and how they perceived what was causing youth not to be able to go to school. Right. So again, we had 18 of the 23 school districts respond to that. And I have compiled the information on that and started writing a summary on that.
That's great. So maybe next month we can get more of an update on what's going on with the school attendance project.
Yep.
Thank you. Commissioner Huber-Levy, we tried to reserve 7 minutes for you. Hopefully you could squeeze a 10-minute update into 7 on what's going on with the after-school care project.
I can. My only hesitation is that we've been putting off our updates since like November. So I can do that. And then I'm not sure if you have anything else that needs to happen before the end of the meeting, because I'll definitely run through that time.
There's nothing else that needs to happen. We have time for announcements, but that's optional.
Okay. Then I will need to share my screen. And I will, okay, you have to give me a moment here, unfortunately.
Monroe, may I ask a question while we're waiting for Karen to get set up?
Sure.
When will we be talking about our projects for the upcoming year? Is that going to be at our next meeting?
That's the plan. and I'll be communicating with commissioners over email, just asking for some input. We wanted to get the mission and aspirations set before we started working on new projects and projects for, any new projects.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
Go for it, Karen.
Okay, so this is kind of a short form of a presentation that I gave to the Thrive Alliance Children in Education Task Force Peer Learning Series last month. Basically, we and Tony, I should emphasize too that Tony Barrick has been an essential part of this project since day one. And she continues to support this project as a volunteer. And Amaya Nori has also been supporting us as a volunteer on this project. So this project relates directly to a key part of our mission, the aspiration being that children in underserved neighborhoods have convenient, affordable access to programs that engage and support them after school. We identified key areas based on the community collaboration for children's success and focused our efforts in researching these areas and cataloging all of the available providers, which were over 40 organizations. We did this in our first year, but I thought just briefly remind everyone that we prepared an analysis of the programs by school district, which I think is really the heart of the value of our work, that summarizes the on-site and off-site daily programs, the stakeholders providing those programs, and any other resources that offer supporting services to that community. Putting the information together by school district really highlighted the unique attributes and the opportunities and challenges in the districts. We also became experts, I will say, in the funding of expanded learning in California and the stakeholders involved. And this has become really important to our work because coincidentally, a massive, unprecedented new amount of funding has been injected into expanded learning in California. So 1.7 billion was provided by the new Expanded Learning Opportunities Program. This is in addition to ARPA funds and in addition to grant funds that are also called Expanded Learning Opportunities, confusingly. A further 3.4 billion, actually it might be 3.6 billion, has been suggested by the governor in his January budget. That has not been approved yet, but the idea of this funding is that it's a new baseline. It doesn't go away. It increases, and the goal is that it will increase to $5 billion by 25-26. The other opportunities that we saw through our research is that there can be a lot more collaboration between CBOs and school districts and among school districts, and there's a need for creative solutions to barriers to access. The other exciting opportunity is that the County Office of Education has just hired a new expanded learning and community partnerships coordinator, which is fantastic. And she has a goal of promoting partnerships within the community. Wanted to just tell you very briefly about the ELOP, which is funding that's going to go directly to districts to fund transitional kindergarten to 6th grade. And it's meant to be hands-on engaging learning experiences, not just more out of school time to close the learning gap. They're meant to be true enrichment and focused on communities that need it most, underserved. If you just look very quickly at this pictorial representation, the orange parts of the bars are the new funding that's going into place across these underserved communities in our county. So it's super exciting. The one thing that we realized as we were talking to people, doing our interviews and following up on questions in different districts is that our research has the opportunity to be a real resource to highlight potential opportunities and issues across underserved areas. And our part of the project, which is now advocacy, is focused on informing and educating elected officials and community leaders of unmet needs and the impact on juvenile justice. We're doing this through continuing to actively participate in Thrive Alliance. And also we will contact other advocacy groups and reaching out to others in the community, well, here, this is what we've been doing. We've been distributing our research report. We've been developing our expertise and relationships. We've become very close with the California Department of Education Expanded Learning Division, and they're so available to answer questions and really have been appreciative of our role in ensuring that district representatives and community-based organizations are talking and also understanding the information, because the funding requirements are a bit confusing. So our role going forward, advocating for increased collaboration and expanding the programming and optimizing the use of these funds, which is so exciting. Our next steps are to meet with the new County Office of Education Coordinator. We had an opportunity to meet her formally at the Thrive Alliance meeting last week. We have meetings set up with educators, community-based organizations. We plan on focusing on the city of South San Francisco and Daly City because we really see a definite need in the North County and a lack of services compared to other areas of the county. We've been invited to present to the Child Care Partnership Committee in May, and we've also been invited to speak to the to present our research to the All Schools Superintendents meeting in June. Actually, they told us it was summer. I'm assuming it's June, but it may be later in the summer. We will also be, our ultimate goal is to report on what has changed from the time that we looked at this, the snapshot during, kind of the view as of the beginning of the pandemic. And after all this inflow of funding and resources, we really want to be able to comment on whether the gaps are being filled and whether there's anything else that should be done. So it's been very exciting working on this. It turned into a much more comprehensive review of what's going on in all of California, and it wasn't obvious to us in the beginning what our role would be, but now we really do see an opportunity to advocate for the a very collaborative use of funding to fill needs. Because, and the other thing I didn't say, but there are wait lists in all of these areas, and there are definite documented needs for programs for children in these areas. So do we have a minute?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is, I think, a really outstanding example of the commission doing research, inquiring and gathering information, putting that out there, and then helping to connect, governmental and non-governmental groups in the county to do something to really support youth. And you're uncovering some great opportunities and creating some terrific connections. So hopefully that will lead to some actual change and new programs, and that you're helping to facilitate that. So thank you. I recognize that we're a couple minutes over, and Commissioner Huber-Levy, thank you for going a little faster on your update, which has been long overdue.
Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Yeah, and we're learning as we go how to get as much information efficiently as we can through this meeting, or I should say, I am learning as I go. Commissioner Rasmussen, I see your hand up. However, I just wanted, before you jump in, I just want to say, really, we're over time, and the commission. So I do want to adjourn the meeting, and if anyone needs to go, then they can. But if others want to stay and ask questions, like they have some questions for the commissioners who have been doing their work on their committees, or specifically for Commissioner Huber-Levy on this, then please stay around. But I am going to officially adjourn the meeting now. Bye. Thank you, Judge Atazadi, and everyone else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I'll stay on, though.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Monroe. I just wanted to share, Paul had asked me to share an update for him since he wasn't here. And his update was basically to say that he's going to be speaking at Stanford tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. And if anyone's interested, I can get you that information. You do need to RSVP, but he'll be speaking there and he'll be distributing our resolution. And so we've been doing a lot of work getting organizations and community leaders on board to support our resolution, not to try use as adults in San Mateo County. And so we're doing some good work on that front. So that was what I wanted to share.
Thank you, and sorry I couldn't include that before adjourning, but we just ran out of time.